Good evening. You are with the Urban Debate tonight. I'm Seher Zama. Let's make a start by getting you the latest of what's happened on yet another round of meetings between the central government and the farmers' union leaders. It has been round 9 of meetings today, and once again, it's a complete logjam. Things have fallen through here. There is no forward movement. Today's meeting, the farmers were seen placing placards during the meet. They've already threatened to further intensify their protest here. But while meeting with the government, they put up these placards here, Karenge ya Marenge, sending out a message here to the centre that they continue to remain firm on their demand to roll back the farm laws. We've gotten some reactions. Let's in fact take a listen into some of those reactions that have come in, first from the farmers' leaders here and what the Agriculture Minister has said as well.
चर्चा में थोड़ा गर्मा-गर्मी भी हुआ, मगर हम लोग बोला कि हम रिपील के अलावा कोई बात सुनने के लिए तैयार नहीं है।
रिपील के बगैर कुछ नहीं।
आज सरकार बोला ये ना हम दोबारा बोलने का कोशिश किया, हम उसको नकार दिया। ये बात हम नहीं सुनेंगे, बहुत सुन लिया। रिपील को बोला तब ठीक है, तो हम लोग एक कोर्ट में चलो। कोर्ट में क्यों जगह? सरकार के साथ हमारा किसान का सीधा सवाल है, सरकार के साथ। कोर्ट में हम नहीं जाएंगे, हम किसी कोर्ट का सवाल नहीं है। नहीं, कोर्ट बोला है कानूनी है क्या गैर के नाम में, आपको कानूनी अधिकार हम चैलेंज नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम कानून को चैलेंज कर रहे हैं। कानून किसान विरोधी है, इसलिए हमारा कोर्ट फोर्ट के जाने का कोई सवाल नहीं है। सीधा होगा तो होगा, नहीं तो हम लड़ेंगे, मरेंगे। इसके अलावा कोई बात हमारे सामने नहीं है। 15 तारीख चर्चा में थोड़ा हुआ।
8 तारीख पर तारीख है, बिना मुकदमे की तारीख है यहाँ।
लेकिन कुछ हल निकलता हुआ नजर आ रहा है।
और हल निकल जाएगा जब निकलेगा। अभी तो महीने 2 महीने रहना यहाँ पे, ऐसे ही कोई हल निकल जाएगा। कोई संगठन इतना हल्का है कि ऐसे ही हल निकल जाएगा।
लेकिन सरकार लगातार समझा रही है।
हाँ, समझा रही कि वो क्या मास्टर है कि समझा रही हमें।
कैसी दलीलें की दी आज उन्होंने जवाब से?
वो कुछ नहीं, आज पुड़िया लेकर आए थे, कुछ मान जाएंगे किसान। किसान बिल वापसी से पहले नहीं मानना।
और लगता कि प्रधानमंत्री और गृह मंत्री ने लगातार 2 दिन तो मीटिंग चल रही है।
हाँ, मीटिंग समझा के भेज रखे हैं।
देर तक चर्चा के बाद भी कोई विकल्प आज प्रस्तुत नहीं किए जा सके, और इसलिए आज चर्चा का दौर यहीं स्थगित हुआ। और यूनियन और सरकार दोनों ने मिलकर ये तय किया है कि 15 जनवरी को पुनः दोपहर 12 बजे वार्ता के लिए इकट्ठा होंगे। वो लोग भी अपने यहाँ बात करेंगे, हम लोग भी अपने यहाँ बात करेंगे, और मुझे आशा है कि 15 तारीख की जो बैठक होगी उसमें कोई समाधान ढूंढने में हम लोग सफल होंगे।
Our correspondent Alok is getting us further inputs here on this. Alok, this is date after date, and the criticism here that's coming in for the government as well, that this is a delaying tactic, expecting the farmers to lose steam on that protest, on their demands here, to keep pushing this further with yet another round of talks on the 15th of January.
Yes, absolutely. Seher, if you see the intention of the government, that is completely dilly-dallying tactic, and the farmers are very much on their stand that they want the repealing of these law. In fact, today was the 9th round of talks, and in fact, when the farmers in the morning, when we talked to them, they were hopeful that this time, because yesterday there was the tractor rally and the tractor rally was successful, so they thought that it would definitely help them in building the pressure on the government, but that hasn't happened, and definitely that the farmers were a little bit sad when they came out of the meeting. In fact, we saw in the meeting also the farmers were sitting for a few minutes on the silence protest, and in fact they were sitting with the placards also. And in fact the farmers did not go for the food which they usually do with the ministers. Last time we saw they ate the food with the ministers as well, but this time that hadn't happened. So definitely the farmers were very much firm. And right now what we are learning that farmers will intensify their protest. But today's meeting, what we can completely make out that the government has now categorically said that they are not going to repeal the law. They have in fact mooted two things before the farmers. That one, The Supreme Court is there another option. The farmers can go to the Supreme Court because the hearing is already going on. And the second, that the committee, the small committee can be made now, and then the committee can discuss with themselves. So, right, the farmers now, they are saying that on 10th of January, they are going to hold their meeting among themselves, and then they will decide it further.
Okay.
But definitely the deadlock continues.
Right, and Alok also holding that massive tractor rally yesterday as a show of strength here, in which the allegation against the farmers were that they're using this to further arm twist the government, but that has clearly not worked today. That has fallen through as well. So what could be the next strategy by the farmers? Because some of them, while speaking to us this evening, while they were giving you that reaction earlier this evening, said that we're not going to be going to the Supreme Court. This is a talk that needs to be done directly with the government here. The Supreme Court is not going to be deciding on these laws, even if it's hearing the matter right now.
Yes, absolutely, Seher, because the farmers know if they go to the Supreme Court, then they will have to depend on the Supreme Court decision. And they know that they want the repealing of this law. If the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court orders that they have to first stop there, or they have to go back to their states, then the talk should happen. Then that is what the farmers don't want. And this is the reason they have denied to go to the Supreme Court. But definitely their eyes will be on the Supreme Court decision, whatever the hearing is going on in the Supreme Court. But right now, the farmers are, yes, they are saying that they are going to intensify their protest. They will go door to door. They will start the door-to-door campaign so that more and more people could come on 26th of January, when they are going to come in the national capital and do the march. That's the tractor trolley march they want to do. Yesterday, it was a trailer that they gave, and that trailer was outskirts of the national capital. Now, on 26th of January, they will do the tractor rally in the national capital. So definitely law and order situation may take place at that point in time. The government need to think about it as well. But the matter is completely stretched and deadlock continued. Back to you.
Absolutely. Alok, very quickly, last question here. The farmers, of course, are using their strength together, the large numbers that have gathered in for this protest. But are the numbers really increasing, or has it plateaued right now? The number of farmers participating in this protest that are pitching at each borders of Delhi.
Yes, Seher, in fact, if we compare it with the day one, the number of the farmers are increasing daily. In fact, if one trolley go back to their state, the 2 or 3 trolley return back. So this way, the numbers are increasing. Right now, around 50,000, around 40 to 50,000 farmers are sitting all across the border. In fact, 30,000 farmers are sitting alone at Singhu border. So definitely, it's a huge number. And controlling these people is not at all easy for the government, for any of the forces, if they try to march towards the national capital, which they are planning for 26th of January.
All right. Many thanks, Alok, for getting us all of those inputs here. This has been yet another disheartening day for the farmers who are continuously trying to get the government to agree on their terms, because this is a law that they're unhappy about, saying their livelihood is being hit. In the other issue on which we're going to be having a larger discussion, and this concerns a lot many more people, this is regarding the WhatsApp platform, which has now become such an integral part of our lives for chatting and holding discussions and calls and daily meets. We've been also getting daily WhatsApp reminders on the set of new terms and conditions here. These are pop-up reminders that have come in for the past few days, and we have to click on agree to agree to the new set of terms and conditions here, because these new conditions will be coming into effect 8th of February onwards. But it's not just another update that we can ignore. There's certain things that we need to be mindful of. Important to note as WhatsApp users. Here's what happens if you agree to these new terms. WhatsApp will share user data WhatsApp will share your data with other Facebook-owned platforms and third-party apps as well. Facebook-owned platforms would be Facebook itself, Messenger, and Instagram perhaps as well, and other third-party apps as well. Now, this can particularly be distressing if you've also started using WhatsApp payment services, because there's a lot more private information, all your banking details information that could go across to other platforms. If you don't agree, now this is being seen as an arm twisting method. If you don't agree, quit. You just have to quit WhatsApp. You have no choice. You just have to agree with those terms if you want to continue with the ease of using WhatsApp. Fourth, after you quit, there's a possibility that WhatsApp will still be retaining all the information that they have of yours already when you were a user. The other question being asked, is it better to quit and move on to other optional platforms? There is now Telegram, there is Signal as well. In fact, Signal has been sending out a lot of tongue-in-cheek memes against WhatsApp, saying it's time now to jump over to the new platform, which is Signal, which is far more secure. So these are the other two options, but do they really fare as well? And the most important point, finally, for the government of India to act in sooner on how the government can step in and further accelerate their efforts here for data privacy law. That is something that the government has met on previously, but still hasn't taken a final decision on. So these are some of the details on those pop-up reminders that you've been getting. Let's throw this open to our panelists to understand this better and what choice we have in our hands to exercise our security here on this platform, if at all there really is a choice, or just quit. We have Mr. Ritesh Bhatia with us, cyber security expert, Aditya Chunduru, journalist with the Medianama, Jay Anant, advocate of the Supreme Court, and Mishi Chaudhary, lawyer and legal director at Software Freedom Law Center, New York. Appreciate all of you being with us this evening. First to you, Aditya Chunduru, in your understanding, what's dramatically different? WhatsApp has come up with renewing terms and conditions earlier as well. What has drastically changed this time?
So like you already put it, the most drastic change is that people don't really have an option anymore. Since the acquisition of WhatsApp by Facebook in 2014, there has been consistent backlash against the sharing of data with Facebook. And so far, users have had the option to opt out of this arrangement. Until even recently, there were a lot of posts asking, there were a lot of interest in users wanting to opt out of this agreement. Now users don't really have that option anymore, and that's probably the most important feature change. And as you've already put it, it's sort of an arm twisting method to say you either take it or leave it, because if you don't agree to the terms of service by February 8 of 2021, you basically don't get to use WhatsApp. And the use of WhatsApp is really important for a lot of people in this country, because as you know, last I checked, that they had 40 crore unique users in India, and that's a huge number, and that speaks to the ubiquity of WhatsApp across your friends, your family. Everybody has it, and if you're not on it, you basically are going to lose out on some opportunities, which could also include commercial business opportunities. So there is definitely a problem here. The biggest problem here is that you don't really have a choice. You either accept it or you don't, and when you don't get to use WhatsApp anymore.
Ritesh Bhatia, and your understanding here in reading much more in detail, reading between the lines of these new terms and conditions here, opting out and using other options available, which perhaps are still fine-tuning their platform, but it could be excised as an option. But opting out, does it also mean that you will still be leaving behind a lot of information that you've already shared on the platform? And that information would be retained with WhatsApp even if you opt out?
Well, Seher, they have an option, like, when you go into their from the app, if you just uninstall the app, then definitely they have all your information and everything. But from the app, they have an option of delete my account. And, that is the time then they're saying that they will delete the data. So if you do it that way, then the data gets deleted. But if you just say, no, I'm moving out, let's say to Telegram or Signal, and I just uninstall the app, so then it is not going to then all the information is there. And what's very important, is like, when people say like, what is the option with us? So, now you know what my whole thing, my personal whole thing is that this is like a sort of like a digital dadagiri. You first build up a hype and everything, and then you say, okay, we are just going to leave you in limbo. It's my way or the highway. So this is something that's really not acceptable. When we came onto WhatsApp, their first line read that privacy is in our DNA. Now that line surprisingly is not there in the latest privacy
we will
policy.
protect your privacy. Exactly.
Their privacy policy would always start. They were so proud about it. I mean, you went and joined WhatsApp. Even the founders have left and all. And we know about, all the notorious things Facebook also does at many times. So somewhere we are not comfortable. And that's the reason even our cybersecurity community, if you see, we've slowly started moving. Like, for groups, if you ask, we've started moving to Telegram because there's no limit over there. And for real secure encrypted, whether it's a call or whether it's chats or anything, we are going to Signal. Not that we don't have a choice. We have a choice, and we want to tell them, look, we have a choice. Maybe everybody's not there, but because of the shows the media is doing and the uproar everybody's creating and all, this needs to be heard. Seher.
Right. Mr. Jay Anant, in your view, the role of the government, because this, of course, is something that cannot be, or can it be? Can it be handled at an individual level where you go to court, put in a plea against the workings of the WhatsApp platform and Facebook in massive data pooling and intersharing that has taken place? Is that an option for us as individual users, or we sit and wait for the government largely, depending on them to bring up this privacy law and have it working for us?
Seher, I think the issue is very straightforward. As Aditya pointed out, and as Ritesh also pointed out, to your viewers, there are 40 crore users of WhatsApp. It's not reasonable or practical for a lay person on the street to really go and approach the Supreme Court and claim there is an infringement of their privacy, even though the Supreme Court has delivered a landmark judgment on that issue. But, I think this is pure and simple blackmail on the part of WhatsApp and the larger ecosystem controlled by Mr. Zuckerberg at Facebook. I mean, they have no business. They waltzed into this country. They take advantage of national resources such as, telephonic mobile bandwidth, and they build this massive business. And now, because perhaps Apple is pushing them out of their ecosystem, they're trying to monetize, their user base in India, which is totally unethical. This is clearly, and as you rightly said, Sarah, I think this is something now for the Indian government to look into very seriously. They need to step in and perhaps penalize them or tell them that either you fall in line or you get out of India, because you can't get away with blackmailing us to make money out of your Indian user base. So I think this is now the time for the Indian government to step in and to draw a red line, that you cannot cross this line. You cannot start monetizing Indian user data and treat it like it's some marketable commodity where they know how much time we're spending with our friends. They know what kind of biscuits we're buying or what places we're visiting. In fact, Sarah, I wanted to point out to your viewers that the most insidious and dangerous aspect about this change, as some of the panelists mentioned, is actually location sharing. Now they have permanent access 24/7, basically.
That's right.
Access to our location. So they know pretty much where you are or where anybody else is. And it's rather easier said than done that you can just opt out if you'd like, if you don't want this service. It can't be done. Our entire ecosystem is built around these apps now. So this is a bit of a fait accompli, and it's certainly blackmail in my opinion. No court in India will allow this to happen. And certainly the Supreme Court, if it gets whiff of this, I'm certain that they will intervene and not permit this.
Yes, location sharing, of course, that used to be an option that you can switch off, will no longer be possible if you agree to the new terms and conditions here. So it is literally making a massive U-turn here as far as WhatsApp is concerned in promising our privacy, in protecting that and respecting our privacy here. Mishi Chaudhary, as far as the use of WhatsApp as a payment platform, as a payment gateway is concerned, that is something that has started here in India as well. And if we talk about data pooling and cross-sharing of information, if this information goes on to third-party users on Facebook and third-party users which are present on Facebook, that makes us even more vulnerable as WhatsApp users.
Absolutely. I think what I first want to start with is that whenever one will rely on one particular proprietary platform, that is the Facebook group of companies, whether it is WhatsApp or Instagram, one always is dealing with private businesses. The K.S. Puttaswamy judgment of the Supreme Court is against the state and privacy. India does not have an omnibus legislation which deals with data protection. India's Competition Commission has not looked into these questions deeply like the European Commission has done. Now, Facebook had to come up and give a statement yesterday, which the entire European Union is covering, that the European citizens are not subject to this and they don't have to deal and share with their personal information in these updated terms and policies. Why that is possible is because of GDPR, their gold standard data protection legislation. So first, India does not have it. Second, the right to privacy as provided in the Constitution is against the state. It's not against a private party. So this is a private business. They can set the terms and conditions and we enter into a contract. That's why this things which we never read and just scroll down to say, let's agree. These kind of terms and conditions are possible because we are just getting into a contract. And this definitely is a forced consent. But this is a playbook of Silicon Valley large platform companies. You first offer things for free. You get a lot of network effects. Everybody's there. Now all your family and friends are there. So although people like us who've been working in this area for almost over a decade and a half have always been using Signal, although Signal, WhatsApp also uses the same protocol, but we understood that when the founders of WhatsApp left in 2018, when Facebook gave this false assurance to European Union, oh, there'll never be a data sharing, and that time the UK, the Irish, as well as the French authorities had started looking very deep into this question, and the investigations had started, assurances had been given. In India, unfortunately, because there is no legislation, and because our government itself is not asking the right questions at the right time. If there is a committee, then if it's only dealing with data, then there should be public-facing investigations or questioning. All our committee hearings are in-camera proceedings, which means that you can't have the public participate. But as the panelists have already pointed out, when the number of users is so large and everybody's privacy is being impacted, privacy is no longer a question about you and me. It is an ecosystem problem. It is like an environment problem. So because you can compromise my privacy and I can also do that to you, that's why we all have to come together and discuss it. That's why it's important that the right questions are asked in open. Now, an earlier panelist also pointed out what has happened is Apple has said, we are going to label all apps with nutrition labels. You know how we have nutrition labels, how much sugar in is everything, how much whatever is. They've decided to do that. And that's the fight Facebook has been having. It is always a plan that the most important business of internet is surveillance. Surveillance capitalism, where your and my data is collected and sold for advertising. And that is exactly what we are seeing. So it's the usual playbook of forced consent. This is not meaningful consent by any measure. And there is no transparency. It's 8,000 words policy. Even lawyers like ourselves, we are paid to write complicated policies. But the way we want is every app should be simple to read. It should be 5 points like a DuckDuckGo has it, or any other thing. But I would say that open source alternatives have always existed.
Absolutely.
India is a big contributor to it. Every time you will stick to a proprietary thing, today it is this, tomorrow it might be an Indian company which will hold you ransom to it. So the push is let's move to things which
Absolutely.
we will
This
not
is something
be
that
held
could have
ransom to.
a dangerous domino effect in the existing ecosystem. Yes, that's an interesting insight here. Aditya Chanduru, in your view, how different is today's situation seeking the government of India's intervention with respect to what we'd seen a few years back at the peak of fake news circulation that was leading to violence out on the road and unfortunate incidents of lynching, where the government of India stepped in, asked WhatsApp to limit their forwarding message capacity, indicating that messages are being forwarded. This is not an original source, reducing that to just 20, and then reducing that to further one single message being forwarded only to 5 people and not more, which was earlier we started out as a limitless count. That was an urgency because of crime that was taking place out on the roads, because of lives that were being lost out on the roads. How different is that situation today? Can this situation also seek urgent intervention by the government of India to act on WhatsApp today?
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, the Indian government's experience with WhatsApp indicates that the Indian state can actually do something about it. Like Mishi had actually just said, for instance, a lot of European regulators have actually fined Facebook and WhatsApp because of their data sharing agreement. And some regulators have actually even questioned the fact that users do not get to consent to this data sharing. If they don't get, they're violating laws. And this is in fact something that the US government has right now in its antitrust lawsuits. Two of them has actually mentioned in these lawsuits that Facebook had actually promised that it would not take data from WhatsApp, but that's exactly what they did, and that's right now under question. So right now, if anything, that should tell us that governments can take on big tech firms, and the Indian government should actually look into it, because India is the biggest market for WhatsApp. India right now, if you look at the statistics from December, I believe, reported statistics, that WhatsApp business, which is perhaps the most interesting avenue for business for WhatsApp right now, most revenue generating element of their business, their highest number of users in WhatsApp business users are in India, more than 1.5 crore if I'm not wrong. So there is a genuine interest here, there is public interest here, and the Indian state, we still don't have a personal data protection law. And this is, if anything, this is an indication that we really need it now. But I am not entirely sure if that is possible before this deadline of February 8th of 2021. But ideally, we should have had something by now, a law.
Right.
We don't. I'm not sure what the future holds for us. But if anything,
there's just a month of this left here. Can the government intervene before the 8th of February deadline? Ritesh, would you be expecting that urgency coming in from the government of India, or is this an arrangement which could benefit Indian businesses as well, in information that is being shared, in contacts and database, in likes and dislikes and preferences of users that are being shared, which in effect will help businesses out here as well? So let's not act on it yet.
No, sir. I personally think, like, for example, the Personal Data Protection Act, which has been it's been 2 years, and now it went through a revision also in the last year. And now what I hear is already 89 amendments have been made. There were anyway 99 clauses, out of which they made amendment to 89 of them. So that needs to be presented now real soon. And in any case, they have preponed the budget session. So probably they can just take this up because this is really delayed. Every person, every panelist also where not only in this show, but even in the previous shows, we have been talking about this particular, the Privacy Act. Just get this particular act as soon as possible, because the act, is really good. I mean, it's good. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying it is it's definitely inspired by the GDPR, but it's something that's very, very good. And so what they can do, they can actually have a urgent meeting, and because it needs to be presented to the cabinet and then get approved and all. So they can go for it, and I personally feel they should go for it. Or if not that way, I am sure with we being the largest user base for
Right.
WhatsApp and Facebook, at least the government can tell them, look, you need to put this on hold because even our Data Privacy Act is going to come. Now you just see what they have done, as Mishti rightly said. Now this is not applicable to GDP.
Jay Anand, what's right?
Yes, sir.
Jay Anand,
Yes,
in
sir.
your view, what's causing the delay as far as the government of India is concerned? Is there hesitation on certain fronts? Why is there not an urgency here? Because it's happening on WhatsApp today. It will happen on Facebook. I mean, they're of course one big ecosystem. It would happen on other platforms here as well. How is that urgency not spelt enough for the government to act in?
Well, I think, Seher, this is a classic situation where even the government perhaps has been caught off guard. But I think the intention of Parliament and the government through Parliament is quite clear that there is a very urgent need to bring in a robust law or data protection law, as Ritesh was pointing out just now as well. There are some delays in that. But in the meantime, I would not be surprised if the Supreme Court evolved its own jurisprudence on privacy and stepped in, took suo moto notice of this, of what Facebook is and WhatsApp are intending to do. And it'll be right, I think, for the Supreme Court to step in. This is an issue that concerns the privacy of not only the entire nation, but as you know, Seher, there are major national security angles to this as well. This is all of our data, which is likely, going to land up in servers abroad, location data and other sensitive financial information. So the government must wake up, smell the coffee, step in and ask Mr. Zuckerberg to stop. And I think Facebook must do it even for their own commercial interests. They can't road roll the privacy of a billion Indians because it helps their bottom line. So I think the government has that bargaining power. They must step in and ask them to stop till our data protection bill turns into law and the president has signed it. So I think it's very clear. The need of the hour is for government to draw a red line.
Mishi, there are other options. I'm going to go back to Ritesh here on this, on how user-friendly they are, because this is a discussion which has now gone into become a bit technical on what really Indian citizens' rights are and expectations from the government of India. But Mishi, if there are other options here to take, the names of Telegram and Signal that are being used, are they safer, and for how long, really? I mean, if it's a typical formula here for getting in users, increasing your database, and then setting in this whole vicious cycle of upgrading terms and conditions, something that's happening in WhatsApp today can happen on Telegram and Signal as well later.
So the important point to note is that Signal is not run like a business on Facebook. That is why any app which has open source code, which means you and I can go and look what the app actually does, it's very clear. And tomorrow, if Signal or anybody else decides to do that, somebody like me who does programming but is not very sophisticated programmer can also fork such a thing, hire more sophisticated people than I am, and build another business. So every time you're trying to decide what to use, it is important to see free and open source, which means freedom respecting open source, which tell you what their code is. That kind of platforms are chosen. So Signal for now is a very preferred option. The other thing which I do want to say is that it's heartening, and I myself have been a big part of the story about helping the data protection bill. But it's also important to understand that we can't just place all our hopes in one law. As important and required it is, it's only one step in the framework which we are trying to build right now. The second thing I do want to say is that these discussions must also appreciate the fact that there is a business environment which we are building. There needs to be clarity about what our expectation for people protection is, whether people are being protected in a simple, easy way. Everybody does not have the wherewithal or understanding to rush to courts, or also just the courts themselves. As knowledgeable as they are about law, technology is hard, it becomes confusing, and we've not seen great jurisprudence being built. And we don't want every small business to be waiting for years for courts to decide how they will run their business. That is why Government of India should have done this, stop this dithering for last 2.5 years, and should have come with a clear law where the enforcement is quick, where you are not involving police and saying, oh, if there is a violation, we are going to get a constable to arrest the CEO of a company, which is what many times our laws end up doing.
Okay.
We should have very big damages. If you do if there is a problem, then pay high damages, a percentage of your global revenue, which is the most effective. Hit them where the bottom line is, not threaten them, because we also want to be innovative and we want people protection. So we want to protect business, we want to protect innovation.
That's right.
But we also don't want this very
Ritesh, very quickly, please, if you may, what really are the options in very simple terms for a user here? Is it really a better option right now to shift to Telegram, to shift to Signal? Signal, of course, has sent out a message that they're still fine-tuning their platform, but it's still a better option than WhatsApp here. How easy is it to leave one platform that we've been using for so many years now to be moving on to the other, and what really are the attractive features on the other platforms, which perhaps we should be looking at if WhatsApp continues with their arm-twisting tactics?
Till the 8th of Feb, you have that kind of time. So just be over there on WhatsApp. There is no issue like that till the 8th of Feb at least. And just gradually start moving to Signal for one-on-one chats, for especially for calls and everything, because everything over there is completely end-to-end encrypted. And even when you take a backup of it, the backup is also encrypted and is in your device. It's user-friendly. It's simple. It doesn't have too much of glam sham and other kind of things, but it's simple. It's pretty nice. But for large groups, where you have you have a limit of 256 over there. So this has Telegram has unlimited users kind of thing. So for large groups, you can go over there. Let's not forget that's also a Russian thing, and Signal is open source. So personally, for one-on-one chat, for calls, and for total secrecy, privacy, I am on Signal, but for all group related stuff and all that, I'm on Telegram. And WhatsApp is still there, but I'm sure people will start making that gradual change. And by 8th, thanks to the show and many other shows and people talking about it, maybe we will have a larger population coming onto it.
All right, so I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. But thank you so much for having this very informed discussion with us, to all our panelists here, for helping us understand what's really at stake here and why we need to be more mindful before we click on the agree button. Each time we're sent pop-ups and reminders of new terms and agreements. This time, very clearly, WhatsApp seemed to have gone much beyond overstepping here on our right to personal information and thinking perhaps we'll stay on despite being arm-twisted. No matter what their justification is, their statements coming out saying that they're doing this for making this more easy for users, more informed for users here. It doesn't work. No one likes being arm-twisted. WhatsApp needs to reconsider on what they're just doing here. So far, we have time till 8th of February. Hope WhatsApp fine-tunes here on this before we decide to jump out.